Today, I'm going to make a template for a SOSS 218 invisible hinge. Each hinge comes with instructions on how to do this the hard way. You're supposed to fold this over the edge of the door. That gives you the location, the setback location. Then you mark the centers of all these, drill holes, do some chiseling, bunch of other stuff. We're going to make a router template like they sell online. Let me show you that real quick. This is my version of that. They have this stop pin right here. You take that out and you route the entire top part. Then you put these in and you mortise this really deep part right here. On the ones that they sell online, I believe this is just a screw, but it's a really odd screw and it has a long length of non-threaded part. The threaded part is only down in here, otherwise it'd mess up your template. I need to go get the locations. I don't think I marked that. Yeah, right here. I did not mark the locations, but we'll go get that. Another difference is that on the fence, I have an offset fence and a normal fence. If I was doing a normal door, I would just use this. The only reason for this offset fence is that I have to route the mortises in this big beef up piece. This is not attached fully. Route those in here, get this screwed into place and glued to this OSB on the other side. A lot of stuff. And then I'm putting plywood skin over the top of this. It's going to have these blocks mortised into the back of it. So in the end, this will just have plywood up to this level. You can watch the channel and see all that, but for now, we're just making this mortise template. And let me go get those dimensions and we'll start on it. Something that's different than the normal hinges, we're going to be gluing in two pieces right here, exactly 1.25 inches wide, and then we're going to drill it out later, and that'll give us a perfect transition, hopefully, between the hole and the flat. If you've ever tried to make a template like this with an oval in it, it's nearly impossible to get the transition between the round and the flat perfect, especially in all four places. And if done right, this does it really well. Let me go get that dimension and we'll get started with this. Turns out I have some maple that is 5/8 of an inch thick that I used for these bump outs here, and I'm going to use that for the template. I did have 9/16 on there, but I'm going to go with the 5/8 because then I don't have to modify my template or my guide bushing at all. I was going to take a little bit off of it, but why do that? Really don't matter. Okay, so I got my parts list here. Let's get that cut, and then I'll show you how I'm going to get all this stuff into there. We're going to drill the holes through the side before we assemble this, and well, we'll get to that in due course. I got all my pieces roughed up and ready to go. This is what I was talking about pre-drilling. This is a normal 1/8 inch drill bit, and this is one of the sides. I got a few extra here, so it's going to go like that right there. So we want that to go way down into here, and it's not going to make it, obviously. So we have a jobber bit a nice long bit, but with these, they wobble around like crazy, and if you were to try to drill it just with that, it would come out all wonky. So what we're going to do is drill down about that far and then assemble this. Then we'll bring it back over there and chuck this up, and we'll use the hole that's already in there as a guide and drill the rest of the way. Now measuring 4¼ and that is where I'm going to stop the glue. I'm measuring in 4¼ from each side, and when I glue these, I'm going to glue a little bit shy of that line, and then when I drill these, where is that, with Forstner bit, the Forstner bit is going to come right to the line, right at that point, and then the stuff on this side of the line is just going to fall away, and I should have a real nice clean transition if I do everything correctly. Now, I'm going to measure for those holes, which are going to go right through the center in 2 places. They don't have to be dead center, but they really should be 90 degrees. They got a long way to go in there, and if they're at an angle, or if they're not in there 90 degrees this way, that would be a big problem. And our measurement is 4 and 21/32, which I'm gonna set up on here. And we'll go a bazillimeter less than that. I don't know what the tolerances are on these hinges, but they can't be much more than this. Well, let's flip this over. They can't be much more than this. All right, over to the drill press. This old Delta drill press is one of my oldest machines, and it has definitely seen better days. One of these arms fell out. It was probably the first year I had it, and I've never fixed it. So it just slides in and out. I leave it in there because it works most of the time, but when I was doing this, it dropped out and was catching on the back of the clamp. Another thing to put on the to-do list. So now, once I get everything glued up, I'll come back and put that longer drill in here, or longer bit, and I will line it up with one of these holes, and we'll drill the rest of the way down into the other pieces. Okay, all done. So last night I glued this and these two together, let it sit for about 30 minutes, and then came back and glued this last part on, and this has been sitting overnight. So I'm gonna get this out of clamps, get it cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll go finish up the drilling of these holes. Okay, I got this sanded to 120, and I have my drill bit stuck down in there as far as it's gonna go. Now I gotta readjust everything and get this chucked up, and I gotta drill down into here somewhere. There's my setup. I had to lower the table and then raise it up into the chuck and then tighten it up. I left the fence where it was, and got this little clamp on there holding it. Now we'll see if we got enough reach with this to get all the way down through here. I think we do. I at least need a half, 3/4 of an inch, something when the rotor bumps up against that rod in there. I don't want it to deflect, and if I got a good inch into there, it's going to stiffen it up, kind of like this is really nice and stiff. Okay, let's do it. Perfect. Okay, got issues here, and I figured out how to fix it. The 1/8 inch stuff is just not working. It's way too rubbery, and the drill bit is wandering more than I thought it would. You can see they're both off to the left a little bit, and it is not the drill press. Drill press is 90 exactly. So what I'm going to do is get my circular cuts in here to make the ovals, and then I'm going to run a dado through here, and we'll make stops for that secondary cut, which is the deep cut. I can't do both cuts with one setup for the router because there's not enough difference in these turrets here. This is a really deep cut on the second one, so I can't set this up to do both this and this in one setup. So the way I'm going to do it is to route all of the ovals and then come back and then route all of these deeper mortises. So that means, well, let's get the Forstner cut in here. I got to do a little bit of layout for that, and I got to put my center line on here. Then I think I'm just going to do that dado on the table saw, do a couple passes. Yeah, I don't think I need to set up the dado blade. All right, let's get this done. This is taking way longer than I thought, but anyways, I drilled both of these holes, and this is what I was talking about earlier. You get a perfect transition from your round to your flat when you do it a glue up like this, and you get perfectly parallel sides, real nice oval. But the tip moved just a little bit, so this side isn't quite as perfect as the other. I can actually fix that, but I don't know if I need to. I did fix that, so should be nearly perfect. All right, this is what I came up with for the stops. It's just 3/4 inch material. What I'm going to do is just take this on the saw and make a curve right down the middle all the way across, and then raise it up until it's the thickness of this, and then move the fence out a bit and make another cut, turn it around, make another cut, and keep doing that until it's a nice tight fit. Then I have these marks right here. That's where I'm going to want to move it over to. Be kind of nice if I have some double-sided tape. Well, I still got to put the screw hole through it. What I'm thinking is, if it's not perfect and I have to move it like a 1/16 or something, I shouldn't have to move it that much though. We'll just make it as though it's perfect and hope that it's perfect. So, oh, and on the bottom, Oh, wrong one. Well, yeah, actually, this is the right one. Because I have this 5/8 inch stock, my fences, I was going to make two of them, one 5/8 and one 1/2 inch, but I only need to make the 5/8 inch one. I wasn't even thinking, because if I turn this around, then I have the correct distance for both of them. I have this one that is an 1/8 inch less, because these are not in their finished state yet. They get something that's an 1/8 of an inch added to them, that plywood on here. So I have to have an 1/8 of an inch over towards the slot. Hope that makes sense. But if you're just making one of these for normal use, it would just have the one fence, and it can be however you make it. So let's get going and get these dados cut. Pretty simple. Like I said, just run the saw up a little bit, run a test piece in it, and keep going until it's perfect, and then we can assemble this. This is for the fence, 4 screws, and then the 2 screws for the adjusters. Okay. I used a test piece, which was an extra side piece, so I could get an exact 3/16 right here. I used a caliper, and then the depth I measured with a caliper too, but it's got a rough bottom because I just used the regular alternate top bevel. So I got to clean out the bottom of this dado a little bit, but this is what I got. When it's this way, it's an 1/8 of an inch closer to the slot to make up for that plywood that's going in the door frame. And this is its normal mode. It has 3/16 right here, and then it's another 1/16 to the cutter, so that's the 1/4 inch of a gap that you need at the edge of the door. So with that done, I'm going to go clean this bottom of this dado out a little bit, and then we'll cut the dado in the top right here. And for that, I have another test piece that I can use, and we'll get it as wide and as thick as this. And again, we'll cut 2 pieces out of this that stop right at that line right there. And then I'm going to make it nice and tight, and we'll drill our holes through there. Probably drill them offset so that if we got to move it around, I can put another hole or 2 in there. I'll probably only use this for those 4 hinges, but that's 8 routes, and it's a fairly aggressive mortise, so I want to make it strong enough. All right. I just took my piece and put it on here. Use something flat like that and make my mark for the depth. So I'm going to want to come up less than that line right there, just less. And I marked the center. The first cut is going to go right down the center, and then we're just going to move the fence outwards 1/16, and then cut another cut, turn it around, cut another cut, and keep doing that until this fits nice and tight in there. This is my test piece. Lower this down a little bit. Just moving it switched it, but it was at 13:30 seconds. I'm going to call that good. There was some stuff jammed in there. I have to do some work on this, but I don't have the time to do it right now. Just get this back together. Get the handle on, which is easier said than done. That's probably why it had some stuff jammed in there. There we go. Should work now. Nice and tight. All right. That's pretty good. I believe it's going to be the right depth. Now, for this massive mortise. Yeah, it probably is a good idea to go in there with a Forstner and take out a good deal of that. Not a full-size Forstner, you know, the 1.25 inch that is, or actually, that's not 1.25 inch, that's 1 1/8 inch. The template is 1.25 inch. Maybe I'll go in there with a 1-inch bit and just take a couple passes and go down nearly to the bottom. Yeah, when I go to do this, I should probably do that with this mortise as well, because it's a fair amount to take out, and like I said, my bit is not the best. Let me see if I got a better bit. I got tons of bits, but they were used in production from my old furniture business, and a lot of them are pretty well abused. That's a lot better. So let's get the depth adjusted on here, get the stops in place, and route that second pass. It'll be really nice once I have dust collection on everything, but for now, we're just gonna make a mess. I already started routing without putting these in. I went a little bit in. It's not going to matter though. All it is a pocket for this, but I'm going to try to remember not to do that on the actual parts. See how that works out. Okay. Now I can route. There's that cut that I made. All right. And here we go. I think it's a little too narrow, and that can be remedied by moving these out, but bada bing, bada boom. Perfect. Well, not perfect. Why is this? It's like a 16th too big on this side. Fits perfect on this side. What? Okay, it's the next day, and I have my cat bugging me. What I'm gonna do, this is the same material. I traced the end that's bad onto here. I'm going to nibble at this and cut on both of these sidelines until it fits exactly, where is that? Exactly into the template, nice and snug. And then I'll sand right to this line and get that as close as I can as well. And then I'll cut this piece off, glue it in here real quick, and I already have my marks where the center needs to be. I'll re-drill that center and retry this. It should be dead on. I want it to be dead on because these hinges rely on this nice tight fit here to transfer the weight from the hinge to the door. The screws, they basically, well, they hold it from falling out, but the nice tight mortise like that carries a lot, or carries all of the weight. So let's get this fixed. I forgot to record this because I'm in kind of a rush. Came out pretty good. I got an extra 1/8 of an inch there. It's the exact correct measurements now. So any slop that's in there is what they want. So I was going to run this on the saw again, but I don't want to break this out. I think I'm just going to take a razor blade and gently cut that stuff out, and I will get back with you when we start routing this again. Before I take this out, I mark these left and right and put a line through them so I know where to attach them. Okay, looks good, but this one looked good too, except for that thing. All right. It's a smidge tight. Beautiful. That's exactly what I want. That's going to give the hinge all kinds of strength. Beautiful. Okay. It's going to take probably 4 hours to produce this video, so I better get going. The next video will be of me routing 4 of these on this jam beef up right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hopefully I can get this glued in place. This gets glued to the wall on the other side, so I got to get clamps in here, and I got to force it this way and that way, and install all of the screws on this and glue, and then I can get the other 2 pieces of the jam in there and then do the same thing. This is going to be 1 inch away and glued to the wall on the other side as well. So those 2, and then we get some stiffeners, or not stiffeners, the bottom part of these slats can go in finally, and a few little details right in here will have like that continued down, that continued down. Hopefully we can get all this done next week, but that's it for this week. If you're going to screw things up like I did a couple times on this, it really helps if you know how to fix it. Okay, we'll see you in the next one.